So I'm going to try to share a little of the tips and somehow a little of the failures, because the way I got or I craft an ERC was something kind of particular. So I applied twice and I got it on the second trial, because the first time I was on the reserve list. So this is also something that somehow built a stamina on myself. So it's something that I hope none of you get into that moment. But if you get into that situation, I think it's also nice, because it's, you know, going through an interview twice it makes you go very, very strong on your applications. I think it was a good thing to know. Okay, so you may be now in the moment in which you are, you know, building your B1, in which also part of your ERC has to tell kind of a narrative of how your scientific career has been so far. So I'm going to tell you just some notes of mine, in case that can be helpful. So I got a degree in biology in 2006 in the Universidad Autónoma de Madrid, here in Madrid. And then, you know, I was not very sure whether I wanted to do a PhD or not, because, you know, I love to be in the lab. So I really love to do experiments, and I think I felt I was good at it, but I was not sure about how to what it was to be a scientist, and what were the things that somehow was to be to get a PhD, a postdoc, blah, blah. So I was working for 2 years and a half as a technician in industry in Merck, and in a company here in a spin-off of the Universidad Autónoma de Madrid. And at the same time, I was working in the morning, I was leaving at 3, and then I was doing a master in bioinformatics and computational biology, because I really loved also computational biology. So I was, okay, I want to continue studying, and let's see, in the meantime, I'm earning some money, and whether I want to do a PhD or not. At that time, when I was working, one of the people where I was working, a postdoc in that company, told me, Maria, you have to do a PhD. And, you know, again, I was not very sure about nothing. So I said, okay, why not? I finished my master and I went into a PhD, actually. And I was very lucky, because I ran into a PI that has just come back from the States, young PI with a lot of energy, and building the lab from scratch. So he's he was also lucky to have me, because, you know, I was very good as a tech, and I was like somehow very good at, okay, if you tell me, okay, go toward this thing, I was, okay, I go full force to that thing, right? So he went, okay, I want you to do the PhD, I think you can do great, blah blah. So I did my PhD, and it turned out to be a very successful PhD in terms of publications, because we published a very good paper that has really been somehow changing many paradigms in immunology, and particularly neutrophil immunology, which is what I studied at that time. Then, you know, I had a FPI fellowship from the Ministry of Science, and then my PI really wanted me to push to go to the States. My English was super bad. I was very scared to go abroad, but he was very pushing and say, okay, Maria, you have to, if you want to do research, you have to go outside, because, you know, in Spain there are good things, but there is also like some limitations in technology, so go outside. So I did 2 stays during my PhD, one in La Jolla in San Diego, and another one in New York and Mount Sinai School of Medicine. That is where I finally end up to do my postdoc. So then I did kind of a long postdoc, 5 years. 5 years. It was also 1 year and a half of pandemia, so it was also a very interesting period to be in the States, and to be particularly in New York, that it was very much hit by the pandemic. And, you know, the postdoc went great. You know, in the postdoc, I also had my ups and downs. I started a project, no phenotype, but you know, with the stamina and with the stubbornness that characterized me, I think I got also a very, very good paper. So somehow one of the things that it was important throughout my path is that both during my PhD and during my postdoc, I got very good publication record. And that's something that, is not the only thing that the ERC values, but it's one thing that they values a lot. So that's also something that I think I didn't have to defend myself on that regard, because it was pretty obvious that the record was good. And then, eventually I got a position here at CNIO, and since 2021, I'm running a lab, and that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, so and again, coming back to the CV, because I think it's an important thing of the application. During my PhD, I got also awards, best PhD thesis award. I also got an award from Eppendorf from most challenging research. I don't even remember the name. And I also got an EMBO short-term fellowship, and actually that's the fellowship I got to go to New York for the second stay. And these were the publication Cell and Journal of Experimental Medicine, that at least in biomedicine, they are very well known and kind of high impact journals. And during my postdoc, I published a Nature paper, Nature Communications, again, Journal of Experimental Medicine, Cell Science, many collaborations, because I was in a lab that, it was really a hub of myeloid biology worldwide. So I was also very lucky to land in that place and having a lot of collaborations. As a result of those collaborations and awards, I got a fellowship, a long-term fellowship at Human Frontiers, which is also a very good one and very competitive. And I present posters, blah blah. So I was known. People more or less knew me about, okay, this is the postdoc from Miriam's, blah blah blah. And I also got like kind of an independent grant while I was still a postdoc, which was AstraZeneca Immuno-Oncology EACR award. Here, sorry, the spelling is incorrect. So that was also showing, like, somehow at the time of application, a little of independence and, a little of bifurcation of my former PI, right? So, and this I'm saying this because all in the revisions that I got from my ERC, and I got my ERC review twice. So at the end, 16 people review my ERC. The most common statement was that my CV was consistent across during my path. And again, that doesn't mean a thing, because you can be inconsistent and have an ERC, but that's what they value in my application. So then how I prepare it, and how do you have this, like, this eureka idea? I think these eureka moments come when you are like somehow very motivated about a topic. And during my PhD, I was working on circadian rhythms, and during my postdoc, I came across data suggesting that circadian rhythm disruption in immunity, particularly in macrophages, it was key to promote tumor development. So this actually was basically the only preliminary data that I had at the time I started crafting my ERC. Crafting meaning writing. But then while I had already my lab, so we were doing 6 months generating preliminary data. So just for some times I started working on it in June 2021. I established my lab in January 2021. So during those 6 months, I was basically buying stuff to generate data, then to do some experiments to include in the ERC. And then during July and August, I was really full force to generate preliminary data with one student in the lab and the lab manager and myself. We were doing circadian experiments, so very crazy 24 hours experiments. And then I submit my ERC in October. So that was it. When I say full force, when you have a lab and when you are a junior PI, is never 100% of your time working on an ERC, because you have to do other stuff, right? But I would say that 80% of my working hours were devoted to the ERC. And I would say that an example of the versions, I had like the different folders. I read many ERC, like at least 3 ERC starting grants from different PIs. And in the writing, I had a total, I was counting on them, 9 versions, right? So 9 versions that were the ones that I had before starting to circulate and to share with some colleagues to say, okay, what do you think? Do you see that is already kind of a project for a 5 years old, for a 5 years length? And this is just a snapshot of my folder so that you can you can see. Um, I discussed the proposals very deep with 2 close friends and very good researchers, and sent to 6 former collaborators, which is something also interesting to do. And they were also very close friends. So those people that can tell you if what you are writing is shit, they will tell you without any kind of mercy. And I work on immunology and cancer biology. So I sent it to people that were not immunologists, because that I think I was pretty fair and pretty rough on myself, but mostly cancer biologists, because also, I'm not a cancer biologist by training. And I thought I was applying for a panel that would have hardcore cancer biologists, so they could really push me or tell me some caveats that my proposal had. So I think that also really helped me to craft a very potent proposal. So then, I submitted, and then, I got this letter that basically told me, okay, you are an A, so you're fine. But somehow here, you get the evaluations after you get the letter at that time, in which you know whether you go into the interview or not. So I got the letter that I was going to interview, but I didn't know yet the comments. So you start preparing the presentation without knowing really what does the people think about your proposal. So okay, so chances to go to the interview, and some of the comments. I got 9 reviewers in this first call. Excellent, super good, blah blah. They always, like, the reviewers that you get, they are very depth, and they are very go to the point. So it's really something that I've never had revisions so valuable and so well written, like really very respectful and very depth into the questions I was raising in the proposal. So this is really good. But then, I did the interview, and then I got this letter that, is really heartbreaking, because you're okay, you do the interview, you think you did okay, more or less fine. And then, okay, you did great, but we would like to inform you that although it has in principle received a favorable evaluation, your proposal is unfortunately currently not high enough in the ranking to be funded. And then I was broken, right? Because you are like, somehow, I got it, but no, you didn't. So I was waiting, because, I also work with the people from FECIT, and there was a person there, Leticia and Estefania, that is like, okay, Maria, maybe there's some people from UK that will resign, blah, blah, it's not clear, you're second on the reserve list. No, they called me, Maria, we called the officer, you are not getting the ERC. So I said, okay, cry. I cried, because I normally cry for many things. It's okay, done, that's it. It was excellent, it will be funded. At that time, I was pregnant, and it's not that I got pregnant to get an ERC. That's not the case. That was also a joke between some of my friends, but no, I was pregnant. So I said, okay, I still have one opportunity to apply again. And the proposal was great. So I basically only changed one sentence. That is, I think it was here, this bold thing: in time will discover novel regulatory programs in tumors using a circadian approach. That was, I can tell you, I swear this, that was the only sentence I changed, because the comments were good. The thing that I got not funded is because there were other proposals that were better. And that's it. And that's it. And, you know, maybe the interview I didn't do great, and that's it. So I sent it again. Super good, excellent, excellent. Okay, give me the ERC. So it's just, it was just a matter of really, I think, other people. So some changes I did in the presentation, you know, I somehow made the presentation simpler, and I think that also myself, I was very much built because I had 1 year to mature the project, to generate also more preliminary data that built more strength on the things that I wanted to do. I did not change any single thing. So I think it was me what changed the most, the security thing, and the strength in which I was defending the project, right? And then I got the letter and I cried again because I got it. So it was at the end, that's, you know, shit happens. And this was not shit. This was already going into an interview, and just having an ERC crafted is already an absolutely win for your career. So basically, and this is just the sum up, I think what the best thing of crafting an ERC is that it makes you go very deep on an idea. And I think other schemes of funding do not have this thing, right? The best people, the most knowledgeable people in your field are the ones that are gonna evaluate your proposal. And I think it's something that really changed the way you think, uh, and how you think about a project. So I think, to me, overall, over all the drama, I think the thought and you know the ideas and the discussions I had during the process made an excellent project that we are currently doing in the lab, and that is, you know, 1 PhD and 2 postdocs work. So I'm super happy that we are doing this.